What's up, bitches? Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored, your favorite reality TV and interview podcast. Today is a very special episode of Positively Uncensored because, as you can see, I had the opportunity to chat with a cast member from this season of Love is Blind who we were robbed of seeing her story. I knew I wanted to speak with Chyna as soon as I saw her cast photo, her bio, that she's a Leo who likes to laugh at her own jokes. So, welcome to the show and thank you for your time and entrusting me with your story.
Thank you. Honestly, I am so appreciative of you. I actually wanted to even hear my story, especially us old NPCs that, we tossed to the side and forgotten about. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Some may say you're the MVP because the storylines that we followed, did we ask to follow those? No. So I always think it's most interesting to wait for the people whose journeys we didn't get to follow and learn about things. So again, I feel so honored that you're sharing your time and experience with me.
Thank you.
Before we dive into things, are you an August Leo, July Leo? When is your birthday?
Yes, I'm actually an August Leo. Funny enough, me and Barack have the same birthday. So we're both August 4th and we're both left-handed. I always say that's my twin right there. It's Barack Obama.
Wow. You really are. What a flex. I don't think I share my birthday with anybody cool, and especially not Barack Obama. So
Right.
yeah, President
Look,
Barack Obama. Let me
right.
put some respect on
That
his name.
part.
Okay. That's amazing. And I'm very drawn to all Leos. July Leos in men I get along with, and like all Leos for women. July, August. I have so many Leos in my life. I'm an Aquarius.
I was gonna say, what's your sign?
Yeah, I'm an Aquarius.
Yep,
Do you have
that
any
sounds
friends
right.
or family?
Yes, I do. Yep, my god sister.
She's an Aquarius. And is
Yep,
she a February, January?
she's January, and then I have another friend who's January too. But me and my god sister, we've been friends for forever. So since we were small children. So yep.
Well, comment below if you share the Leo Aquarius friendship or love in the comments because I'm curious. I'm a February Aquarius, which I feel like I never hear that people are. And I also
I don't hear
feel
too many either.
yeah, and the men February Aquariuses are always just diabolical. So there's not always like great representation.
Yeah.
But before we get into your journey on the show, casting, all of that stuff, I want to give people the opportunity to get to know you more and how you got on the show. So, how long were you living in Denver, and were you living in Denver or close to Denver?
Right, because I mean, there's always so many things around. Like, do these people actually live here? Do they come from here? So I actually am originally from Chicago. I'm a Chi-town girl at heart, and I'm born and raised and bred in Chicago. But I lived in Colorado now for about 13 years.
Okay.
So I've been here for a little bit, which now obviously this is like my second home. But yeah, I was here when the show aired, and I was here before the show aired. So there was a lot of us that actually were living here. Most of the people were living here, even if they hadn't been here for a long time. They were living here in Colorado.
Okay, and 13 years ago, take me back. What brought you to Colorado?
That part.
Right.
Because till this day, I'm like, why am I
Why am I here?
here? So it's funny. Like, my reason for coming here was actually not really the best reason, but I will say that at the time that I came here, it was like I wanted to finish college
Yeah.
and finish getting my degree. I had gone off to college. I had to stop because I couldn't afford to keep paying for college at the time. So I took a little hiatus when I was going to school, and I started working in corporate America. And so I was like, I want to finish getting my degree and like finish, just finish out. Like, I want to be that first
Yes.
person in my family to finish, and I did. So I ended up moving to Colorado to finish, which was my parents had moved here. They had been here for a while, so they were like, just come on. And the goal was to come here, finish school, and get the heck out of here. That was the original goal, but that's not quite how it went.
It's always funny how plans change. And first of all, congratulations for being
Thank
the
you.
first person in your family to graduate college. And also, I'm glad that you added that because I was wondering if your parents, if they were in Chicago, if they were in Colorado. So that helps a little bit in terms of making the decision to move because at least you
Hmm.
have that support system in
Yeah,
place for you when you made that leap.
very much so. Because I don't see me coming to this place without that, especially because there was no real draw for me to come to Colorado. My dad's military, and so they moved here for that reason. So I'm like, there was nothing here that I saw that was a reason for me to come to Colorado.
And what do you think, now that you've been here for 13 years, what do you think the best and worst thing is about living in Denver and Colorado? And do you think like we saw that represented on the show?
Yeah, I feel like you got to see some of it. I'll tell you that much. For me, I feel like Colorado is it's what you saw a little bit. People
Hmm.
are kind of it's a very different place. There's
Hmm.
not really any culture here. I'll say that. A lot of people probably don't like when I say that, but you have to think I'm from Chicago. I'm from a big old
Hmm.
melting pot where there's a whole lot of culture. And then I come here and it's really not a whole lot of culture. It's just people go to the mountains, and if they're not in the mountains, everybody kind of sticks to themselves. Not a very social
Mm.
place. So that's why when you see people interact, they interact in the most crazy way possible because the interactions are very different. And people don't have the tendency to like create community here. So it's very different. You have to really try to find community. And even when you do, like trying to latch on to that here is almost like the impossible.
That's such an interesting thing that you pointed out because as you're talking about what we're seeing on the show is kind of an accurate representation. I'm thinking, okay, a lot of the show was like very granola, very white. And then the other side of that, and something I talk about frequently on my podcast, is there isn't community amongst white people. And that's something also that people don't always love when I say, but it's true. Look,
Yeah.
I'm saying that as a white woman, there is no community. So it's not surprising that people have shared hobbies in Colorado. But as
Yeah.
far as finding a community of somebody to support you and, yeah, like be vulnerable with,
Right.
we did see that mirrored on the show.
Hmm.
What about the best part on the flip side?
The best part I would say is that there's always opportunity to meet new people and to learn something new. The one thing about Colorado that I will say I appreciate is when I did come here, it gave me an opportunity to learn about myself. You do have that kind of seclusion a little bit, so you get to really see who you are, learn about what you like, what you don't like, things that you're willing to do, things that you're not willing to do. So you get a lot of time to yourself here, which is it can be a good thing, and then after a while, not so much.
That makes a lot of sense. Like there's a lot of reflection that you
Hmm.
can do with that time that you're
Yeah.
not out in community. But like you
Yeah.
said, that's a double-edged sword where after a while it starts to feel a little depleting.
Yeah, and I will say this too. It is very different. The experience you have in Colorado is very different depending on who you are.
Hmm.
That's just
Hmm.
people may not like to hear that, but it's very true. I
I
think coming here as a black man, my experience would be a lot different than it is as a black woman because I've seen a lot of differences. And you'll see even when Patrick talks on the show, he talks about his experience as an Asian man here. It's very different. We had another guy there named Rohan, who's Indian American, and he had a very different experience in Colorado. So it is different depending on who you are.
thank you for speaking that and saying that because yeah, that makes sense. It's not I'm going to say in my opinion, it doesn't seem like and it was reflected in a lot of the conversations we saw on the pods. It's not friendly towards marginalized people, specifically black women. And as you pointed out, we didn't even see Rohan. We saw what Patrick went through and his experience. So, really anybody who's not this white guy with a beanie or this white girl with blonde hair isn't
Yep.
having an experience that they would talk about when they go to Colorado.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. Again,
Yeah.
I think that's something that needed to be said because I think it's something that we see on the show. And I think it's something
Mhm.
that's sort of danced around, but it's something that's not directly said and it needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely danced around for sure.
I don't
Yeah.
think we heard the word racism once on the show, even in Patrick and Casey's conversation at the
Right.
reunion, and I was just waiting to hear that at least once.
Hmm. Oh yeah, no, we definitely could tell that some things are very interesting. Obviously, I know there's more to know, but I'll say this: you even see it when we're connecting as women in the pods and on the women's side. I don't know that the guys have that same experience, but again, an experience for a black woman in Colorado is very different from that of a black man in Colorado. So,
Hmm.
black women and black men, I'm sorry, they have a different experience here. So,
I definitely want to hear more about that, like what the interactions were between the women. So I have some questions about that because I mean, after seeing Casey, after seeing Annie, I had an inkling that it wouldn't always be amicable nor positive in the women's lounge or amongst each other. So we're definitely going to talk about that.
okay.
Before we get into that, all question I ask all of my guests is do you like reality TV, and if so, what do you watch?
So it's funny. I have watched reality TV shows many a times. And most of the reality TV shows that I watched in the past they were like, this is gonna show my age, but like real world road rules, all that stuff.
Yes, okay.
So I watched that kind of stuff back then, and then I've peeped at Atlanta Housewives and shows like that. And then Love Is Blind was actually a show that I truly enjoyed, especially when the first season came out and you really got to see that relationship between Lauren and Cameron. I thought that was really beautiful, and so I was like, this is a great show. Like somebody's actually trying to help people find love. What?
Okay, that's all really interesting to hear. Basically, by the way, you are almost like a veteran in reality TV then, because a lot of people like younger than me and even myself, I didn't watch Road Rules. I didn't watch like the OG Real World like when
Mhm.
it first started out. I think the
Yeah.
first season was like in the 90s. I
Yep.
didn't catch that. So I am more of a rookie when it comes to knowing the like like the changes that have
Mhm.
played out on reality TV, but you've probably caught a little bit of that by starting with those shows.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so when you say that you saw season one, did you watch all seasons after that, or did you just see Lauren and Cameron season?
So no, I actually, I was really drawn in because honestly, it's beautiful to see people come together in that type of way. We've never seen anything like that. Well, I can't say we've never seen anything like that. Apparently, there's a show from way, way, way back when called The Dating Game.
Oh
And
my
it was
God,
very
yes.
similar where there was like this wall and, stuff like that where you
Hmm.
could see the person. So, I mean, but that was forever ago. And we hadn't seen anything in this type of manner before. So for me, I was like, this is a very interesting show. So I did keep up with it. I kept up with each season and I thought it was a very good show to watch, and that's pretty much as far as that went in my mind.
Okay, okay. So you know what? You are, and correct me if I say anything that you don't agree with, but it sounds to me like either you are like a romantic or very optimistic in love. Are either of those correct?
They're both somewhat correct. So I'll
Okay.
definitely say I'm a romantic. The optimism and love has kind of dwindled down just
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
It was definitely up some years ago, and now it's like, so it's fallen below. But yeah, I'm still trying to be optimistic. We'll just put
Okay,
it
because
that
I do remember, I think that's something you said in your like bio too. I think you said that you were, let me go look at it really quick, actually.
way. Yeah.
I literally have it open. Yes, you said I have not given up on love. So after the show and this last year, not that you've given up on love, but that's unfortunate that it's sort of not given you the best experience. Like you were so optimistic, you were so like brave going into the
Yeah.
experience, and then you walk away with like a little bit of a different take
Yeah. I
on
was
it.
definitely open for sure.
Yes, yes. So we'll talk about all of that and the toll that this experience has had or not had and what you've
Mhm.
learned. How did you get connected with the show? Getting into the casting process a little, did you apply? Did they reach
Yeah.
out to you?
So this part of the story is kind of funny. So for about a little over a year, I would meet random people just in different settings, especially because I do makeup as well. So I am a marketing manager, but I do makeup on the side. I've also done like hair and makeup on the side, and so whenever I would be out doing any makeup opportunities that I was at any events or anything I was doing makeup, people would always come up to me and ask me, was I single? And then they were like, you're single? You should totally go on that show. I'm like, it would be the most randomest thing ever. And then I remember after a while, friends of mine and people that I knew would send me like messages like, "Oh, you should go on that show." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"I'm not going on this show." So this went on for like a year. I just thought it was the craziest thing that people kept asking me, "Oh, you should totally go on Love Is Blind." I'm like, "Why would I do that? Like, I'm not desperate, guys. Like, something's gonna happen someday." And honestly, I get that I'm getting older, but also like we're just not going that route in life. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had about 9 people send me the application.
Oh my gosh.
Thought that was insane.
Mm-hmm.
By the 10th person, and shout out to my friend Lily because she was the 10th person to send it to me, and she was like, "Do it." So I was like, "Girl," I'm like, so at the 10th person, I was like, "Is this like a sign that maybe I actually need to do this?" So I kind of took it as, okay, maybe it's a sign that I should do it. You never know. But I'll be honest with you, I filled out that application at maybe 11 o'clock at night. Like
Mm-hmm.
the care that was put into that was none at all.
Yes.
So,
Uh-huh.
and I don't want to say that in like a bad way, but it was like, okay, I'm just gonna complete this,
Right.
fill it
And
out,
it's
and kind of be done with
long.
it. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my mind, they're not contacting. First of all, I'm 37. They're not contacting me back. I'm not a spring chicken. And then I just didn't really think too much about it after that. I'm like, I'll just get it done and do it. But then sent it in at like 11:30 at night. And literally like 7 o'clock in the morning the next day, I got a phone call. I thought that was crazy. I was like, huh? I
What a
literally woke up.
turnaround
I wasn't even
time.
out of bed yet. I'm like, who is this? And it was them. They were calling me. They said, we got your application. I was like, you did? I'm like, right. I was like, who's up looking at application
That, because I'm like,
that early? That was
they're
my
probably
thought. I
on
literally said that. I was like,
PST.
gosh.
It's 4 a.m. Like, this is commitment. Like, the turnaround time is also insane that they saw
Exactly.
that.
And I'll say I filled out the application so late. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
filled out the application. This was like late in November. I didn't even know if that application was still open. I was like, oh, I'll just send it out. And so yeah, they called me the next day, and it went pretty quickly after that. For most people, they say that it was a long process. I was like, it wasn't one for me, but it was pretty quick. I only had like a couple months, and then the next thing I know, we were headed off in February. And so
It's so strange to me and also frustrating when they like really want a cast member. Like they wanted you. They saw your thing. They called you within 7 hours. They wanted you. They confirmed you for the season and got you through that process quickly. And then we didn't even get to see your journey. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You knew that something was there with
Mhm.
her. You knew that she has it. Like,
Yeah.
why don't we get to follow those stories?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I used to send my friends like casting stuff all the time. I'd be like,
Yeah.
do the show, do the show. And then after I did a few interviews with people and I found out about the behind the scenes of reality TV, it went to don't do that show. Don't do that show. So I'm wondering if anybody in your life was a pessimist or if
Mhm.
anybody was a little bit cautious for you or if everybody thought that this was a pretty good idea.
No, I definitely had a couple people in my family. So I didn't tell a lot of people. Obviously, you can't really tell a whole lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, like, just my immediate family knew, and I had a sibling that kind of was like, "What?" And then my mom was like, "Oh, this is great. Maybe this is a door open for you." And then my dad, he's a police officer. He's a retired cop, retired
Mm-hmm.
military. He was like, "You're gonna do what?" He was totally like, yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that he was, not supportive. He was just kind of like, I don't know about that. And so, and then my godmother found out about it later. She was like, girl, don't do that. Like,
Okay,
so,
got it.
but yeah, I mean, for the most part, like for the few people that I told, my nephews were definitely supportive. But one of my nephews, David, he's always like, do it, just do. He's always trying to get me to do anything and everything, and he was like, do it. So I was like, okay,
Okay, I get it. So you were getting a mix of both sides. And I
yeah.
ask that because that would sort of shape what your expectations are
Mhm.
going into the process. So once you got selected, as you were going in there, what did you expect to either experience or what were you
Mhm.
hoping to get from the whole thing?
Well, I'll say so. First, in that process, it was kind of funny because they had originally labeled me as plus size, and I was like, yikes.
Why are they labeling, by the way, anyways, or categorizing? That's
Well,
very
when
odd.
you're going through that process and they're looking at you, they make their assumptions based off of how you look. So I was like, yikes. So my first thought was, I need to lose some weight. I was like, oh shoot. But
No, the answer is no, you don't. And that's so
well,
audacious
my
of
weight's
them.
always been an issue
Yeah.
anyway. So, but it was one of those things like, do I need to? But then I was like, okay, it is what it is because I know that there's going to be people of different sizes, and I'll accept that for what it is. But my mindset going in, I will be honest with you. So the type of person that I've always been when I'm dating has been to look at somebody for who they are and not necessarily what I see.
Mm-hmm.
What you see, I always think is like a bonus, and it took me some years to get to that place. But I've always been more of a I care about who you are on the inside than I care about what you look like, and I care about how you treat me. So going in, I thought that this was a really good process. And for me, I was excited that someone could actually just get to know me without looking at me and
Mm-hmm.
being like, I like her based off how she looks, or I don't like her based off of how she looks, because that's always been a thing for me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Like my self esteem was not great when I was younger. It changed because I guess my looks changed and people start to see me differently. But I didn't have that, I went through life just being, oh, I'm always so good looking. Everybody wants me. So I had to grow into my little looks here. Took some time. So I was like, I want people. And then by the time I kind of grew into it, I would meet guys who were focused on that and that only. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's tiresome. Like, I just want somebody to get to know me for who I am because that's how I'm getting to know you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not looking at what you look like first. So for me, I was like, I want to go into this process like fully open to somebody getting to know Chyna, not whatever it is that they're looking at, but I want them to get to know me for real.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think I remember in your bio too, you talk about how, as you've grown into how you look now, and I can completely relate to how people change how
Mm-hmm.
they treat you based off of if you're what they consider conventionally attractive, to
Right.
be honest,
Right.
right? What they consider and their finite standard.
Right.
Well, wanted to comment was that I also remember in your bio that you said that sometimes people assumed that you were a diva based off of your looks now. So this experience is kind of like removing that for you as
Yeah.
well.
Yes, very much so. Because honestly, I'm the biggest goof and I care about a whole lot of nothing. And people don't realize that until they meet me. And I think it's because they're looking at how I look now. And I appreciate the fact that people think I look good now, but I didn't always feel that way. So I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, operate like somebody who just thinks that they're the most wonderful person in the room. I think a lot of people are wonderful. So that's just not my mindset. And so I can be a big goofball. And sometimes people are like, didn't expect that, and I'm not really the type of person that's focused on. I like to dress nice, but I most of the time I don't even know like fashionable things when it comes to brand names. I'm the last person to be on what's new, what's popular, and what's like a brand to know. I just dress with things that I like, and so I think that gives people the thought that, oh, she's such a diva because I'm dressed up, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing was expensive. I can tell you that.
But that's a skill to make
Yeah,
something that's not expensive look expensive. That's a
yeah,
huge skill.
I'm here
Um,
for that.
it's just so obvious to me that you are what the show is about, right? You came into this, you're open, you have your life sorted. We also read in your bio, I didn't ask you this, but if you have anything you'd like to add, you can. But we saw that you were single for 5 years before the experience.
Yeah.
So you had time to yourself, time to get to know yourself. It seems like you have all of the best intentions as you get there and you're kind of meeting the men or hearing the men or even just meeting the women as you get there and meet the other women, did you feel like other people were as marriage minded as you were, or ready for marriage, I should say?
Right.
Yeah, let's say that.
Right. It's funny, and this is not a diss to anybody. I just think that there were a few people that seem like this is what they're ready for a relationship. And then there were people that I feel like were ready for marriage. And
Hmm.
then there were people that I believe were ready for fun. So You know what I mean? Like there was a mixture of everybody kind of in there. I'll say that.
Okay, so moving away from the relationship aspect,
Mm-hmm.
since the premise of the show is Love is Blind, and you talked about how excited you were at the chance for people to get to know your being
Mm-hmm.
without seeing you, did you get the sense that everyone there was truly did not care what the other person looked like on the other side of the wall?
Absolutely not. Did not get that feel at all. And I
Okay.
don't know if it was, I don't know if everybody's answer would be the same when it comes to that, but I can tell you for sure that mine was people, they definitely were wanting to know more.
Mm.
And the bad part I will say for myself is, and I think that other women can relate, or if you have an accent you can relate. There's some things you can't cover up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think when you hear my voice without seeing me, you can tell I'm a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a way for me to hide that. And that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that I wanted to be a focus, but at the same time, it wasn't something that I was trying to hide because it is who I am.
Right.
But I think it's very hard to go in as a 37-year-old Black woman trying to find love in a setting where no one can see you. Absolutely. I don't think that everybody was like, oh, yeah. I think some people were definitely like, I can tell.
Okay. So
And then
you
it's like my age comes into play, and that's a whole nother situation.
Wow. Okay. So you felt like as you're talking to some of the guys, like your voice gave away and that like elicited a reaction from certain guys you
Oh,
went
yeah.
on dates with. Okay.
Oh yeah, because oftentimes when I would walk into a pod, they would actually mix me up with Calabria. I'm sorry, I call her
Mm-hmm.
KB, but
Yes.
Calabria.
Mm-hmm.
I would walk in a pod, and when you go in the pods, you don't know who's walking in. So I'll just say it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why you hear people say, "Oh, it's so and so," or "It's me." If they recognize your voice. And sometimes I would go, and honestly, Calabria's voice is a lot nicer than mine, okay? It's smooth, it's cute. There's a little rasp in there that for me that's not exactly the cutest. And especially if I haven't had sleep, it can sound pretty rough, okay?
I
But when
love
I
your
would walk
voice.
in,
Mm-hmm.
I would get, oh, Calabria? I'm like, no, it's China. So I knew that you're connecting me to another Black woman because you probably think that that's a Black woman too. So you're gonna keep, and it was oftentimes where I would get mixed up with her. I don't know if she had that same problem. We definitely got mixed up, but she probably didn't have that problem because her voice is a lot smoother. And so you could tell, this little nasty rasp for something a little more sexy
Mm.
for sure.
Okay, so first of all, I think your voice is elegant and
Thank
exquisite,
you.
and I think you have an amazing voice. I see what you're saying though, because that's in my mind, I won't speak for you, but problematic as an
Mhm.
observation to say the least that they're mixing the two of you up because you guys don't sound alike. Like that's the thing. Your guys' voices sound very different. I
I thought
enjoy
so
both
too.
of your voices, but they sound very different.
Yeah, there were a few people that when I would walk in the pod, it's like oh, Calabria, and I'm like, no, it's China. So it was honestly it was too many to remember
Hmm.
exactly who it was. That's how
Hmm.
often it would happen. So
That's very frustrating. That alone, and you know what? It's already a question of if you're a black woman and people can tell that you're a black woman based off of your voice, is this experience really number one set up for black women when they cast people who aren't truly open? But number two, is the experience really blind for anybody when there's these um like giveaways that we're
yeah,
having
yeah.
on a different side of that, in prior seasons we've saw the men come up with like creative ways to ask
Mhm.
women about their weight, about their age, about things that would let them know what they look like. Did you feel like there was a lot of that this season? Were people more bold about it? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I almost got tripped up one time. I was like, oh, almost got me. But then when I rolled back. But I think it's interesting because as you notice, some people kind of just told. And so I was like, bless you. Some people just kind of told who it is that they, were. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to do that. And honestly, I guess after a while, I didn't really have to tell anyone because I think, like I said, once they heard my voice, they assumed automatically. So it wasn't a whole lot of that for me because of that. And I also will say my age definitely played a huge role as well. And I think those were going in at the time. I didn't think that those two things would be a negative. Honestly, I didn't, because I'm just like, I am who I am.
Right.
And as I got in, I was like, oh, shoot. Two things that I really don't think anyone should know. So this really isn't as blind for me as it is for some other people.
I was so excited that everybody wasn't in their early 20s this season.
Yeah.
So I was disappointed, number one, that we didn't see your journey, but it's also disappointing to know, like you're saying, like people aren't truly open. It shouldn't be a problem how old you are if everybody was cast for a show where the person on the other side of the wall could honestly be 50. I mean,
Right.
if we're being honest, it doesn't leave very much room for the range and the other person on the other side,
Oh, yeah. I was getting knocked down pretty quickly because of my age in there, sadly. And I had only told maybe like two guys at the time, maybe two or three, because they were asking, and I was like, well, if I start saying I don't want to tell you my age, then that gets a little tricky for people too, because it's like now I can tell she's black, and then she's not really trying to say her age. I just knew that that would be problematic. So I tried to be open to say my age, but I didn't think that people would take that and kind of use that as like, no thanks. But that's kind of how it went. And so I remember telling my age to only three guys. And then next thing you know, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to keep telling my age because people are kind of like knocking me out right away because of it. And so I remember I was talking to one of the guys, and he found out, and we had talked about how we're not going to tell each other's age. So we're not going to talk about that. And then he came in one day, he's like, Chyna, I know how old you are. And so unfortunately I'm this age. And so I was just like, and it's funny at that point, like I'm kind of glad that wasn't seen on TV, because I kind of cried. I was in the pod kind of crying because everybody was knocking me down so fast. And I was like, oh, this sucks. I was like, well, that's, I was like, you're not getting to know me because one, you have a perception of who you think I am based off my voice. And then immediately you're learning my age. You're kind of like, I don't know.
And also, like on some hands, I like to watch the women in the lounge trade information so that people really know what they're getting from the men in the pods. But I hate the aspect that they're like gossiping and sitting there and talking about your age. You feel
Yeah, so I was just like, I end up dating guys who are often younger than me anyway, which is kind of annoying because I'm just like, I don't. But so in there, it was completely like nobody wants the old birds. You gotta get out of the way.
I can't, because it couldn't be further from the truth. It also, I wish that they had just casted guys who were truly more open with with like the ages in which they would date.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that. Now I want to get into your actual experience, and we talked a little bit about the vibe that was between the women. So I kind of want to start there. You've been selected for the cast. It's your first day in the pods or even your first week, and all of the women are in the lounge. What were the conversations like? Were people friendly? Do you remember how you felt?
Yeah. I mean, the first day is exciting, okay? Like you're here, you're like, there's all these women. We're all here because we're excited to find our husband, right? And so that first initial day was very exciting. Everyone was getting to know each other. But I will say it began to get a little interesting. In the sense that when we would all kind of be in the bigger lounge area and we'd be sitting down together, like you started to see people gravitate to certain people. And so obviously there's five of us black women there, and it became like when we were talking, I would actually make it a point to get up and go talk to other women too, because I don't want it to be, and I don't think that this is something that everybody thinks about. Truthfully, it's based off how I grew up. It's why I thought about it. And so I did get up and make it a point to let me go talk to other people, because they're all talking, they're all, communicating amongst one another, but nobody's really kind of coming to us. So we're kind of ending up being like in a group talking. And I will say the one person that honestly always made effort to come like sit and chat with us was Allie. Like she would come over, and she was just super open and friendly. And I really appreciate that a lot about her. I know she gets a lot of flack, but she was really very open and friendly. And so that's why I don't see what other people see, because I know her to be very kind-hearted. I know her to be very friendly, because she always was like, she always came over to speak, and she always came over to chit chat and talk and just laugh with us, and it was a good time. And so but I felt like I had to make my way to get to know the other women. And that was, and that was totally fine, because they had their, like I said, they gravitated to one another, and I get it. But also, I've seen past seasons where the women got along pretty well, and they seemed like they were all kind of like meshed in there together. It
Mm-hmm.
did not feel that way for our season. It felt like, okay, well, we just end up sitting over here because everybody's over there kind of doing their thing. And then I will say also, Anna was really like, open and friendly. That's my girl. She was cool. She would chit chat. And there were other people that became friendly, but it definitely was one of those things where I noticed that I had to not make it a point to not just sit amongst us. I had to make sure I would go and kind of talk to everybody and get to know everybody. I don't think that was on anybody else's mind but mine, because one, I'm older, and one, I noticed that this is a thing based off of how I grew up. I grew up in grade school. I was the only Black girl in my grade school. So I know what it's like to not have people really talking to you. So I'm like, let me
Mm-hmm.
get up and go talk to other people and get to know people, because I'm a people person. I have worked and been in all kind of settings and backgrounds. So I don't care who you are. I'm going to go make it a point to try to get to know everybody. And that's kind of how it was. And it probably didn't help that obviously, like, I'm, older, and there's a woman there who was older, but again, I just had to make it a point to go speak to other people, because I don't think that that was naturally going to happen, where they would come talk to me and like, oh, hey, girl, sit down, and we start laughing and talking, because that's not what was happening.
First of all, that changes a lot of perspective on Allie for me, just because I wasn't really sure how to receive her after the season. Her friends didn't make her look the best, but just
Mm-hmm.
knowing that she was somebody who came over and initiated
Oh, yeah.
conversations and was kind, that adds like a whole new layer to her. And I'm somebody who always reserves the right to change my mind when we
Yeah.
get information, as we should. So I'm definitely going to add that into my
Yeah.
thoughts when I talk about Allie now, as well as I've liked Anna since the beginning. It
Yeah.
sounds, first of all,
Oh, and I forgot to mention Anastasia too. There was another girl there named Anastasia. She was also very friendly. She actually had been to Chicago a couple of times, so she was more friendly as well. So
was she blonde with?
she was blonde and
Okay.
she had long curly hair. Yeah.
Okay. I do remember her casting photo.
Yeah.
So, those three, that's excellent that they did that. I feel like that's just, first of all, I feel disappointed for you, and I'm sorry that that was your experience, because that is painful to have the onus on you, when really it sort of feels like you're already being sort of like singled out, the five of you, and like not being included in the general group or a part of the larger conversation. So then to have to take that upon yourself to go and, like initiate things and seek things out with people who aren't being welcoming and who aren't reciprocating that, like that's just not, like you've said, in past seasons we have
Mhm.
seen more of like sense of community, or a
Right.
more sense of togetherness amongst the
Yeah.
women. And I don't really know what other word to use, other than it sounds like a lot of the white people kind of like segregated themselves and were like, okay,
Yeah.
we're all gonna hang out together, and there's five Black women, so they can support each other. It sounds
Yep.
like that's what they were thinking, and that's
Mhm.
very gross
That's
and
kind of what it was
telling.
like. Yeah. And they may not like that I'm saying that, but honestly, that's the truth of how it was. And if you were to ask any of the other women, maybe with the exception of one, they would pretty much tell you that's kind of how it was for most of us. I think, there was obviously like a friendship between Casey and Kaylin. And, at one point, Casey and I were pretty okay too. Um, Things got a little interesting after a while, but for the most part, you know, it started that way. But yeah,
When things got interesting, were you guys dating the same person, or was there just
no.
a shift in her energy?
No, I think the shift in energy came after the fact, but I also think that there were some underlying things behind that that were it was almost like, let me be around these particular people just so that it doesn't look like I'm something else. That's
I've
the
got
vibe.
you.
after
I've
a while.
got you. Like she
Yeah.
was being very conscious of her image and saying, no, look, I'm not
Hmm.
racist. I am very open-hearted and I do have other friends. Like
Yeah.
that's also
And
beautiful.
this is not to knock on her. I just don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't talk to her anymore. I haven't
Hmm.
heard from her,
Hmm.
and even Kaylin, both of us, we were like, "Do you really talk to Casey?" She's like, "I've heard from her like once," but like we thought that we were a lot closer, and then
Mm.
yeah.
That's very telling. And she basically did that on the show with Patrick as well. Like, even in her goodbye from him, look, I'm not racist. We're making out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kissing him. It's not that I'm not physically
Yeah.
attracted to him. I think that that's very revealing about a couple things, just, sort of where we are as a society,
Yeah.
the women that they cast and what's important to them. I think
Mhm.
that I would be hard pressed to ever, you know, I don't want to use myself as an example, but I'm imagining myself in the situation being in
Mhm.
Love is Blind. And I can't imagine sitting there and not noticing the separation in the group and not
Girl, you
wanting
didn't
to,
notice.
exactly, and not wanting to do something about it. Like
Yeah.
I can't understand the overlooking of
Mhm.
that. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment though, because we learned through Jesse Wu's interview with Michael that one of the things he said is that allegedly, in his mind, you guys sort of ended things because of Annie. So I'm going to get back to talking about the women just because I'm curious about how things were between you and Annie. But first, I'm so sorry. I sort of like stole your thunder a little bit
No, you're
because
good.
I wanted to ask you, now let's talk about your connections. Who were you connecting with? Because we were deprived of seeing anything. We've talked about the women, but you're in there. Tell us what happened, please.
So I'll say my connections, sometimes I wonder what happened to them, but I think, like I said, I kind of know what happened to them because I think somebody told me like, oh, I think so, there's some better guys in there for you. Like I heard that like twice from two different people.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so, like, I would say at the top of my list was obviously Michael was at the top of my list. He was number one. And then after that, it was kind of like and he kind of fluctuated maybe once or twice, but, and the person he fluctuated with, we won't go too far into that, but uh, at the time when I met Joe, I didn't know how old Joe was, and so he had mentioned that he was Christian, so I was like, okay, cool, and
Mm-hmm.
so I thought he had a good vibe to him, and I was trying to be open to something different as well, open to something different, but also knowing what I like, and so I connected with him. I also connected with Jordan. Jordan and I don't think obviously Jordan was obviously he was looking for something else, but I really liked Jordan because he was really real. You know what I mean? Like you met him and you guys see like he is who he says he is. He was very real. He was very much there for something legitimate. And then him having a kid let me know like you wouldn't come on here and screw around having a kid. So
Mm-hmm.
this is somebody who's here for real. So and just like talking to him, he was funny and cool. Like I really enjoyed our conversation. So those were kind of like and there were a couple other people that were on my list, but as far as like the top ones at the time, and then Rohan was also on my list. He was so Joe kind of got knocked off pretty quickly, so it was pretty much Michael, Jordan, Rohan, and then I think I had Logan on there, who's a friend of mine now, and who was the other person? I had Chase. I had a couple of people that you probably didn't see. I remember Chase being on there, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's just a sports nut." I'm like, he totally is, but maybe I'll into that one day. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to
So,
look up all of these men after this episode, by the way, and overlay them into the
yeah,
episode so that all of us can see who you were
yeah,
matching with. But top three was Jordan, Michael, Joe, before you knew Joe's age and more about Joe.
yeah. Joe only lasted for pretty much like a day and a half. So after that, it was pretty much Michael, Jordan, and Rohan.
Okay. Okay, got it. And Rohan, thank you. Okay.
I'm
So,
sorry, Dylan was in there too. I call him Dylon, but Dylan was in there as well.
okay, I love how many, yeah.
Somewhere. You know what? I think somehow my numbers got wonky because I think that they were kind of like based on who doesn't really like you. They have this, way that they put it together based off your numbers, their numbers. So I think at one point I had Brendan in there, and then he was gone. Like some of the people that I liked, I had Deo in there, he was gone. It was just like they must really not like me because they're like, you're old. So I just didn't see them anymore. So it's
Okay.
almost like I don't know how things kind of got turned around. And then I was in the pods with Edmund, unbeknownst to me. He was literally the last one on my list. Until this day, I have no idea how I was in the pods with him every day. I'm like, why? Why, God?
Wait. I must have missed something. You and Edmund, you guys were talking romantically, or they just kept putting you on dates and you didn't ask to be
God,
together?
no. Yeah, I didn't want to be with him. He was just in there.
Okay, got it.
Like,
Every
why
day
are
you
you
show
here
up.
again?
Yeah. Okay, got it. So a couple questions in that. So first of all, you connected with Jordan. Ultimately, you said you felt like he wanted something else. Jordan, Rohan, and Michael, do you
Mhm.
still have an amicable friendship or relationship with them postseason?
So Jordan and Rohan, yes. Michael, it was definitely rocky.
Got
Just
it.
say
Got
that.
it.
It was
Okay.
not. We're fine now, but it took a while to. We went in a couple little
Okay.
things where and they just went around. Yeah.
Okay, got it. In regards to, because this was a whole topic of debate the whole season, if you had been with Jordan, could you have tolerated the chicken smoothie or no? Today's episode of Positively Uncensored is brought to you by Audible. Audible gives you access to thousands of audiobooks, podcasts, and originals all in one place. I love it because as much as I make time to binge reality TV, I always wish I had more time for my ever growing TBR list. But life and life's responsibilities always seem to get in the way of sinking into a good book. I'm sure that some of you, if not most of you, can relate. With Audible, I can finally catch up on the books that have been on my TBR list while I'm driving to work, cooking, or even in the shower. If you've been meaning to read more but can't find the time, listening with Audible makes it easy. You can try it out for free by heading to the details in the description. And when you do, you're also supporting the show. Now, let's get back to the episode.
You know what? I could tolerate the chicken smoothie if he could have tolerated my raw vegan. Because it's funny when we were in the pods, he was like, "What the heck is raw vegan?" I didn't even know about his chicken smoothie while he was coming from my raw vegan.
What is
So,
that? I've never heard of that either.
raw vegan is when you just eat fruits and vegetables. Nothing is cooked, but you can make like it takes a lot of work to eat raw vegan. I'll say that because you're coming up with very creative things because you're not cooking anything, but you're coming up with things to make it taste really well. So I was raw vegan while I was there, which I know probably sent the producers into nightmare land because they're like, this shit.
Good. Give them hell. We should everybody
No,
should be more
they were really
difficult.
gracious and nice about it, honestly. Because at first I was like, they're probably gonna be so over me, but they made it work for me for sure.
Okay, so I had a question about how much control you felt like you had over your dates, but you telling me that Edmund was there, I'm kind of gathering not very little. How did that feel in terms of picking people?
That part was very strange. I mean, like some of the people that would pop up, I was like, why? It's like, okay, I don't know. And so I know that they have a way that they do it. And obviously I'm not trying to knock how they do it, but I'm like, it just because we basically like we get to number these guys when you get them like who you like from top to bottom,
Hmm.
and so I'm just like, why is this person who's literally last on my list keep popping up? And then there were some people that I was interested in, but I take it maybe I was so far down on their list that they were like, no. But then I was like, you know, the people that I think they were trying to have somebody in there because it's like not enough people may like you think. So let's, you
Okay, so
know,
they want like a
it,
buffer. They're like add people.
yeah, it could have been that they were trying to give a buffer. So
Okay. If you were to reflect back on your first day, and I know that that might be like an impossible thing to do, but they give you all of these dates and you're
Mhm.
thrown into this process. Do you remember how optimistic you felt at that point that your future husband was in these pods as you're having these first bit of conversations?
You know, the optimism was it was in the middle. And
Okay.
here's why I was in the middle. As I was kind of going through here, the more I met guys, the more I kept meeting guys. And then I'm like, It was kind of like, I don't know if there's a whole lot here for me. Especially, given the age that I'm at. I mean, honestly, there were only two guys there that were closer to my age, which was Michael and Mike. And then there was like all of these, younger guys and things like that. So the hope was up before. And then as I started getting into it, I was like, I don't know. It's like I'm kind of, but then the more I talked to the connections that I thought I was having, it seemed like, okay, maybe, maybe there's a possibility. But in my mind, I was like, at the end of the day, I only need to know one person truthfully that's supposed to be for me, not 16 guys. So then when that hit my mind, I was like, it's going to be okay, because you really want to know one person. But the way the process is set up, it gets interesting. So, it's like, I want to know one person, and I don't know if they just want you to focus on one person, which makes sense. I wanted to know more than one person, but I'm like, I just know that there's only going to ultimately be one person that I will, continue on to get engaged to and get married to. So for me, it's like, that was my mindset. But as I got to know them, I think things just kind of got more, I kind of got a little disappointed, just because, again, like when guys started learning my age, it was kind of like, like, ooh, that's not good. So I'm like, let's not tell our age. And then it's like, I don't know if, the guys that are in here are the type of guys that would want to date me. And that's kind of what the feeling was. Almost like, was there a whole lot here for me? I don't know. I think there was a whole lot of options for a whole lot of other people. I just don't think there was a whole lot of options for me in particular.
And that's something that I have been so vocal about, and tons of other creators, tons of Black women have been vocal about this, that unless we see a change in them intentionally casting people who aren't just only open to dating Black women, but love, value, all of those things, the results that we're seeing are just unfair, and that they're dangerous, and they're hurtful. The end result of not being intentional with the cast, to the point where you, and I don't want to speak for the other Black women, but however, if they were feeling, is there anybody that's here for us, that's just not the experience that they were offering when you initially
Yeah, I
signed
mean, I
up.
definitely think, I think obviously it's hard to come into a space and find so many people for so many different people. Like, I get that. So I don't fault that part of it. But I do think if you're going to have 5 Black women, you need to make sure that not maybe just the 3 Black men like Black women. You need to make sure that everybody likes Black women, because in the scenario that we were in, it probably was one Black man that liked Black women, and then that was it. And then the rest of them, I don't even know if they've even considered a Black woman before. And that's not to knock any of them. They just don't think it was on anybody's mind. And then you have to think, oftentimes when I've seen Black women date outside of their race, it's because somebody became attracted to them off looks. Because culturally, we have different things. So when I'm talking to you behind a wall, culturally, we may not connect that fast. But maybe if you think I look good, you're maybe more apt to listen to what I have to say. And so I think that might be the struggle that Black women are going to have in there, is that if you're connecting sometimes with somebody that does not look like you, that's not Black, most of the time you're going to have some cultural differences. And when they can't see you, in their mind, you're not even a thought. If they were to see you, then maybe they'd be like, oh, she's good looking. I want to hear more about what she has to say, or I'm attracted to her. And maybe not, I don't want to say good looking, because that's relative to what you're attracted to, but I'm attracted to what she looks like. I might actually want to listen to what she has to say. But if you just like, this is probably a Black girl, you're not thinking about that. Culturally, we're not like connecting that fast. You may not be willing to do that. I think in the case of Lauren and Cameron, you have a guy here who dated Black women before, and he was open, and it looks like that was something that he wanted. Where I can't say that every season I watch that has been the case. I think most seasons you find that that's not the case. And even in the choice of the Black men that they choose there, if that's what you're choosing for Black women in particular, you need to, kind of consider, are these Black men that like Black women? And it's sad that that's something that is actually a question today, but this is the reality that a lot of Black women live in.
I want to thank you for feeling safe enough to be able to share that on the podcast, because I know that there will be a lot of women who are listening to this and relate to that experience. And I just, like you were saying, at the very minimum, they need to make sure that everybody that they're casting has dated Black women before. I don't know what type of vetting they're doing, but it's really doesn't seem that hard to me to take a look through somebody's last few exes and have an idea of who they date. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because it's not fair, and then it makes it, and then we have situations like where KB and Edmund are shown, and they are the only representation
Mhm.
of, a Black couple on screen this season. And then,
And I'll say even to that, I feel like I know Katie has gotten so much flack, but I feel like she carried herself in the most gracious way possible, considering that people don't know all the things that have happened. Me and her are close. I know several things that have happened, and she, I think she handles herself quite well. I think people think opposite because of they saw her get upset, but you might be upset after a while too when realize some things aren't what you thought they were. I'll just say that. And obviously, Evan is a different kind of guy.
Mhm.
I don't even want. This is not to bash him. He's just a different type of Black man, and I think it's good that people see that there are different types of Black people. We're not a monolith. We are very different. Some of us, are nature people. Some of us are not. Some of us are. We're very different and vast, just like any other community of people. But I think showing the type of light that you can show us in does make a difference too. So while I'm happy that you got to see somebody different in Edmund, I think there are some things it's like, ugh, yikes. And you are who you are.
Mhm.
Some things I think, were let me put on a little bit. Um, and that's just true to what I believe it to be because I have met Edmund. He's a nice person. But there are some things where I'm like, all right, what are we doing? Um, but yeah, I think it's important to see other representation, and if you're going to have that particular representation for a Black man, I think maybe you should find a way to, you know, let's get another one in here so that we can balance out what people see.
Right.
Maybe,
Yes.
and maybe you don't. Maybe that's not. There's no opportunity for that. Maybe there isn't. But I also think Edmund is a particular person, and casting someone like that, I think there were some traumas that he's dealt with that were very obvious. And so you kind of have to wonder, is somebody like that, when they tell you off the bat that type of trauma, that doesn't to me seem like somebody who is ready for marriage, ready for to even be in a proper relationship.
And I want to say this too. I want to make it clear that it doesn't sound like I think that KB and Edmund were like the representation for Black folks through
Mhm.
Love is Blind, because like you
Yeah.
were saying, Black people are not a monolith, and there shouldn't be this just, well, Black people were represented. Like that's absolutely not the case. There should be, though, like you said, like a variety, like the chance to see multiple representations of Black people and their personality. And
Yeah.
I feel like them leaning into just KB and Edmund's story, and like you said, because of the reaction online from people who aren't privy to the things that you know and that KB knows, there's really just this sort of hyper fixation or pushing of like that she is the villain for responding
Mhm.
to this very unique individual, that truthfully you have to also be a very unique individual, or just have the specific desire to be in companionship with somebody that has his
Exactly.
personality.
Yep.
that's
Exactly.
that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think you articulated that much better than even I could. Absolutely.
Thank you. I that's about as best as I
No, you
can
did
can,
phenomenal.
can
Actually,
get
you
that
did phenomenal. I
situation.
think you hit it right on the head.
I want to go back to whether or not, though, they could have showed more range in the season, because let's go back to your specific journey. As you're going through this, correct me if I'm wrong, but are all of you dating the same amount of time in the pods and then only certain people get engaged? Okay. So
Mhm.
how far did you get in your relationship with Michael? And we learned that Joe was about a day and a half. We learned the reason that things ended up not working out with Rohan. But what was the timing like for you? And was it you that decided this isn't going to work out? Or was it them? Or how did that happen?
Yeah, without telling too much,
Yes.
I'll just say it definitely was not me that decided that this was the end of the road for me.
Okay.
Um, Connecting with Michael, honestly, and I had told this to KB and also Ashley, who's another friend of mine. I said, and this was towards like the end because I tried not to talk too much about who I was talking to, but I said, well, I feel like there's somebody in there who is a lot like me, to the point where I never felt like I could meet someone and they actually might end up being my best friend before they're my mate. And I was like, I feel like that might be a possibility for once. So yeah, it definitely was not one of those scenarios where I was just like, I don't want it.
Okay.
But I will say, like, there were a couple things when I asked some questions that popped up some flags for me. But at the same time, I was open to, when I get to see this person, then I'll get to have more conversation and even dive deeper. But right now, it felt like a really good friendship that was also romantic. And so I was like, let's see where this goes. So, because I was feeling very good about it. But I had heard comments from other people that made me start to feel a little, like maybe I should feel good about this.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just so that I can try to sort of like fill in the gaps for people as they're listening to,
Mhm.
as you, I'm trying to figure out if you're sort of meaning that, like the other person in the relationship was the one who who ended things, if you will, or if production was sort of like both of you were willing to keep going, and if you're sort of saying that they didn't allow you that space to keep going, just so I can make sure I understand.
Well, I think how production does it is they allow you to keep going based off where you are in this person's lineup,
Got
right?
it.
And so I think if you're far enough in their lineup, then you're probably going to keep going, and
Got
if
it.
you're not, you're probably not.
Okay. So that's a really kind of like shitty way to figure out where you stand with someone.
Oh yeah, because by the time you're leaving, you have no closure, and you're like, what the heck happened?
So people's reactions to being ghosted is making a whole lot more sense as well, because you might have had the person ranked at your number one just to find out that, well, they didn't show up to the pod date as we
Yeah,
saw
I mean,
happen.
there were people who left on their own account, and I don't judge anybody for leaving because they obviously were like, that's not going to work, and I don't want to lead it on.
Right.
But there were people who left, and then there were people who were taken out.
Okay, interesting. Because on the show, we saw several like ghosting moments where I think like
Yeah,
Sparkle Megan walked in and she was like, hello. And then there was no answer. And I don't
and
mean to
Blake's a
laugh.
good guy. Blake's a
Yeah.
good guy.
Yeah,
He
I don't
definitely
mean to laugh,
trying.
but
Yeah.
it did make
No,
me
he's a
laugh.
good guy. I think he just was like, I don't know that I'm finding what I need. And Anna is such a good person herself, like kind-hearted, good woman. I don't think either one of them were intentionally ghosting, especially when
Uh-huh.
it's hard to feel like it's a ghost thing when you already see people kind of just disappear.
Okay.
It's like, well,
hmm
did I ghost? Because there are people who just disappeared. So it's like you're there, then you're not.
That's That makes sense.
Mhm.
I'm curious. So I feel like listeners, we're all going to be like chatting in the comments and having like a lot of just like general conspiracies about Love is Blind from this, if I'm honest, because what I'm trying to figure out is, first of all, did you get engaged on the show?
So I did not get engaged. I did not.
Okay.
Because I left the day and a half before engagement. So yeah, I think it was a day and a half before engagement. Or yeah, at least that a day or two before engagements, one of the two. So yeah, I did not
Okay.
get engaged.
And I'll ask this delicately. Do you get the
Mhm.
sense that anybody could have gotten engaged? Like anybody can propose, or they give rings to the people only whose storylines they want to follow. And if they don't want to follow your storyline, they don't need to have you get engaged.
It's funny because I myself don't really know how that's
We
I
all
don't
wonder. Okay.
I myself don't know how it's put together.
Truly. Okay.
Truly, yeah.
Yes.
Even when you leave, you, like I said, there's and the process that you don't really get closure. So you're like, did I leave because you didn't like me, or did I leave because they wanted you with somebody else? Like, what happened? Like, you're kind of confused, and so you have to put the pieces together yourself afterwards, of what really happened. And and I'll say this, when you're looking at people's lists, that's how they are determining. But I also think that sometimes they're going to be more interested in this versus that. This might look better than that. So let's go with that.
Okay.
That totally is probably a thing. I mean, there's also there's an entertainment aspect of it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember that. And I think that's probably what I forgot while I was there. Somebody should have reminded me there's also an entertainment piece to this. So while you're thinking you're just looking for love, they're looking for something too, and you may not be what they're looking for.
It's not just you, it's all of us, and every single season. Every single season will have to remind us, oh, why did we expect to see love? Like this is a show, this is a story. They're pushing a
Yeah.
storyline. They sit there and they
Yeah.
they say, "Oh, she's going to be the villain. He's going to be the jokester. He's going to be the
And some
Well,
people put themselves in that predicament.
absolutely people the shoe
Yeah.
wears itself if
Yeah.
it
The
comes
shoe
to doing.
that's what I always say about jokes. I'm like, the jokes write themselves. The shoe
He's exactly who I was thinking of. How
literally that.
hilarious.
Yes. It's literally that. So yeah.
That's
Something
exactly
just
what I was
writing
thinking.
their own story. So
So just touching a little bit on Jessie Woo's interview that she did with Michael.
mhm.
One thing that he revealed was that your relationship fell out because of Annie. And so going back to where we were when we were talking about the divide in the pods, the
Mhm.
interaction with the women, I'm curious, and we can talk specifically about Annie in a second, but in
Mhm.
general, was there this sense of people sharing who they were dating? Were you aware that Annie was someone else that he was dating with? Or, and if so, was there tension? Like, what was the dynamic like if things
Yeah.
ended because of her, with her treatment towards you?
Right. So I'll say this. There are people that, women, I think the women did a better job of not just saying, oh my God, I like so and so.
Mm-hmm.
But you did hear comments of like, so and so's probably a player.
Mm.
So and so's probably not here for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So and so's got a lot of dates today.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would hear things like that. I definitely heard some things like that pertaining to like Michael having a lot of dates in one day. I'm like, wow, he has a lot. I don't have that many. So I'm like, he likes a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Which was like, wow, okay. And then, there was also, moments where I was just like listening to just listening to the conversation that some of the women were having, and a couple people made different comments about him in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And so it definitely raised a little bit of a flag for me. I'll be honest with you, I had no clue
Mm-hmm.
that Annie and Michael were in a relationship. And because sometimes you're basing it off what somebody is like
Yep.
with
Yep.
you.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, it definitely would not have put those two together.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, none of Michael's choices, what I have thought were his choices. But again, I don't know what he's looking for, obviously. And so I can't, but in my mind, when you're talking to someone and you're connecting in a certain way with him, like, okay, maybe this is the type of person that he likes. And and like Jordan, I think mentioned at one point, he's like, I didn't even think about the fact that, yeah, Megan's talking to other guys. Like you're kind of in your own world, like, yeah, I'm talking to them. And it was
Mm-hmm.
at one point, me and KD both realized that we were talking to Michael, and she was getting different things from him than I was.
Mm.
And so I remember at one point she had mentioned that, oh yeah, did he cry with you about this? I was like, no, he didn't cry with me about absolutely nothing. So like,
uh,
I was like, he cried with you? I was like, this man must not be telling me nothing.
it'd be
Because I'm like,
impossible to not compare.
right. So I'm just like, but like that was the one time where I was like, oh shoot, okay. But I mean, it wasn't like I was upset because she had to have her own journey too. We all are in here dating these people, and so anybody that they were anyone that I was dating, I wasn't upset about it. But I think once I finally learned, I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the choices were very, very outside of KB. They were very different for me.
Yeah, because I'll say that was pretty much my reaction listening as well. I think when he said Hillary and Shelby, I was like, then when he said Annie, I'm like, okay, like, and as you said, I'm not even the one who's getting to know him in the pod. So as you get to know someone, you
Mhm.
pick, well, I bet he's connecting with so and so, or you like kind of picture who they're talking
Right.
to. And so to actually find it out just adds so many additional layers to that.
It does. A lot of things go through your mind after, like, oh, okay.
Okay. Yes.
Kind of like that.
Yeah. Yes. Now, I want to talk about reflecting back on the season because we're starting to get to the end where we're going to wrap things up. Do you feel like, first of all, this format of this show was conducive to finding love?
That's it's a hard question to answer because obviously it's worked for some people, right?
Right.
I saw it work for Cameron and Lauren. I saw it work for Brett and Tiffany.
Right.
And then I saw it work for Zach and Bliss.
Right.
And you're like, wow, this can work for some people. And then there were other people that got together and you saw, like, there was a little bit of a struggle in some relationships. So I felt like going in, I felt like, okay, there's a possibility. Starting in it, then I was like, maybe. I
Mm-hmm.
think hope goes down the more that you're in it. And I'll just say that. And hope goes down also depending, like, on who you are. I think you can be very much optimistic if you fit into the mode of, I'm probably the type of person that everybody's looking for. And when you don't fall into that, I'm probably the type of person. And no, I'm not thinking that because I don't think I'm great. I think I'm a great woman. I think that
Absolutely.
everybody that would get to know me would be like, she's dope. Like, she's got a lot to offer. But I don't know that everybody there would be in that same mindset depending on what they're going in there for and who they're going in there for. Because again, it's a different experience for a Black woman than it is obviously for an Asian man, obviously than it is for a Middle Eastern man, than it is for a Caucasian woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have all these different people who are definitely going to have a different time. And I think where you can narrow down some of the frustration is having more people who are in the same age range. You can start there. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that would definitely help because someone in this age range trying to date younger, obviously I was open to it, but you have to have younger guys who are open to dating older women. And you have to have older guys who are open to dating older women.
Mm-hmm.
Because as an older guy, I hear there's 20-year-olds in here.
Mm-hmm.
We know how men are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They picture 20 more years that they have to have children or whatever.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that was even a thing. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, like, they're definitely thinking, oh, I can, like, she doesn't see me and I might be, kind of cool that I'm older and I'm more mature. So are you going to be looking for a woman in your age group? Are you going to be looking for a woman of a certain race? Are you going to be looking for a woman of a certain class? Like,
Mm-hmm.
these things are going to be into play. And I think if people went into this process how they did season 1,
Mm-hmm.
you would get a lot more opportunities for people to find love. I think that because the show is where it is now, you have a lot of people who are just going for God knows what. And you're trying to filter through all of that. And I'm not going to knock you for going for that if that's what you went for. But you definitely made it harder for somebody who definitely came in there trying to be open to what the process is supposed to be for. Or maybe what the original intent of the show was. I think bringing it back to that might make it better, but also it's like, where do you find these people too? I think all of these things come into play, and I think they do the best job of what they can to find people. But I don't think there's enough people that say you have to think about when you're putting Black women on. This is what you need to look for. Because I'm not saying don't put Black women on. I'm saying respect when you put us on. Know what it is that you're saying and what you're trying to do. don't not put us on because now I have to work a little harder.
Absolutely.
Don't not put the Asian man on there because I got to work
Absolutely.
harder. Don't not put the Latino woman on there because I got to work a little, or the Latino man because I got to work a little harder to find. I think these are what make the show more exciting and more beautiful because people are finding people that they never thought they would. And I think there definitely needs to be some restrictions when it comes to age. I'm like, don't tell it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because you don't have necessarily restrictions on what you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get me wrong, they let you know like, hey, don't just give away your information like that, but also it's hard to say I'm not going to tell my age. I'm definitely not going to tell my race,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also thinking if I tell you my age, are you using it against me? I
Mm-hmm.
guess so.
It's almost like the format of this show needs to be changed in the effects of you guys almost need like a voice changer. Like you guys
Mhm.
almost need like nobody knows what each other sounds like. You're not connecting based off the sound of someone's voice. And right, that's weird,
Yes,
right? You might meet your
yes,
partner and he's like, "Hi, China." And you're like,
right, right,
"Okay." It is what it is. I love his personality, but
yeah.
that would
I think
almost
a voice changer where you come in and you're getting to know the person, you just talking to them, and everybody has the same voice. So there's one guy
absolutely.
voice that everybody hears, and
Mm-hmm.
there's one woman's voice that everybody hears, but then you are just getting to know people for who they are. I think that would definitely take the show up 15 notches now because I think if there's no way to differentiate or help people out based off of what they truly look
Mm-hmm.
like and sound like, because the sound does give things away and people give things away.
Yes.
But if you were to, put a little bit more boundaries on that, like you could find people finding love more often. I think so.
And the other element of that is, we're not going to see proper representation or proper protections for the people that we want to see represented until they center whiteness less all around. Like whether it's like, top up from production down or the stories that they decide to follow or what is considered conventionally attractive
Hmm.
amongst these
Yeah.
predominantly white spaces. It's really going to take an intentional decentering of that to have the show truly be about, is love blind? I really
Yes.
think the show, they could change the name to Love is,
Blurry.
yeah, yeah, love is blurry. Love is pretty aware of what the other person looks like on the side of the wall. Because, I mean, at this point, they might as well just like have a shadow there where you guys can just see each
Yeah.
other. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
they are leaving so much of that.
Yeah. And that part I don't think is definitely on Love is Blind. I think it's on people to not just tell. Like, I think you want to get your foot in the door better. Maybe you tell somebody, yeah, I'm blonde hair, blue eyes.
Hmm.
It's like,
Yes.
don't do that. Like,
Hmm.
let it be that you're just allowing them to get to know you. But
Hmm.
again, if people do that, it's like you're doing that because you want to be here for what reason? When you
Hmm.
go through those type of lanes, it's like, why are you truly here then?
And that was what I was going to ask you, and you might not be able to comment on this, but I think another larger question that I've been asking myself is, do you even get the sense that Netflix or that like they care whether or not they cast people who have a great shot at finding a life partner and love? Or does it feel like they care about feeding the machine of the Netflix universe and getting people to cross promote on other shows like Too Hot to Handle, Perfect Match? And I mean, that's sort of what it feels like to me.
Mhm.
I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable if you can't add your opinion, but what do you think?
No, I mean, I think it's fair to feel that people feel how they feel. I'll say that I do think that they care about who they cast in a way. I think that
Okay.
they are trying to find people. It's just that it's so much that goes into it, and I think they're just not diving deep enough. But I
Mhm.
do think there is a sense of care. But I think that they have two things that they care about. I think they care about finding good people, but
Mhm.
they also care about finding interesting people as well because they have we want to find love for you, but we also want to entertain people. I think it's
Mhm.
the world of what it is. It's reality TV, so
Mhm.
they're gonna do what they can, and I don't think that they purposely just screw you over. But I don't think they are you. I don't think there's enough people in the background who take into consideration these little intricate things that matter to the people who are going to be there. I think when you're thinking about that, maybe you need somebody Latino, Asian, Indian, Black. You need more of those people at the table who are
Absolutely.
creating these spaces for this type of show to have more input to say, if we're going to put this person there, let's be more mindful about this then. Let's not do this one, let's do that, because this may not. I think that's television, movies, period.
Absolutely. Any institution, really.
Just exactly any institution where you're going to put a bunch of people in a space together. Think about what that's going to look like, because that matters as much as you may not realize it. It matters, but I do understand that as a marketing person, I get it. You have a twofold thing that you have to look at here,
Right.
and so it does make sense that yes, you want people to be in tune. But I can tell you, people are apt to watch it because they like the love. We are living in some very difficult times. I think watching love is more exciting than watching chaos. We got enough chaos when we wake up.
I
We
talk
just
about
do.
that all the time. We don't want all the drama that they think we
No, you're
want.
not.
We want something, oh, where's the wholehearted stuff? Like
Exactly. We
where's
need
the
something
wholesome
light.
stuff?
Mhm.
What are we doing here?
We need something lighthearted. We need something to look for. We need something to hope for.
We need something to
Because
believe in. Come on. Give us
folks
something
are
to believe in.
furloughed. Folks ain't getting benefits. We don't
In
know
this
what's going
economy, in this state of
on.
the world, give us
People get cashed
something.
off the street. Can
Yes.
we look forward to love?
Yes.
No.
No?
It's
Okay.
like the one thing we got left.
Right. Reality TV needs to show up when when the world is
Right?
in a dark space, not reflect the deeper evils. Okay. There's
Because
enough of
they
that.
did. The reason Love is Blind is popular, you showed up during COVID.
Yep.
And
That's
we
a
were
fact.
like, people are dying.
Yeah.
Cute.
And they were like,
But
oh,
look,
but this
there's
cute little
love.
love show with Lauren and
Right.
Cameron. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We just need you to show back up with the love for when crud is hitting the fan.
Mm-hmm.
That's
100%. That's
yeah.
all we need. And I think a lot of people, I think so many of their viewers feel that way. And I think
Yeah.
that so many production companies are missing the mark on what does well with numbers.
Yeah.
Now that the season's over and have you watched it?
I have.
Okay. So now that
Yeah.
it's over and you've watched it back, if you didn't know what city they were in and you were just watching, do you think you'd be able to identify that they're in Denver based off of the dating representation?
That's funny,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would know that they're not in a big city.
Got it.
I don't know if I would know what city, but I definitely would know that they're not in a big city. And I honestly would have probably thought, based off some things, I thought maybe they were in a red state somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What do you feel like your experience with dating and the Denver dating scene was represented on the show?
No. Well, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And here's why. Because dating for Black women in Colorado is diabolical. Okay. I'll be the first to say it. We're not thought about.
Mm.
And when we do have an option, it's like, dear God, what is that? And then it's like, does that option want me? So I think, yeah, you saw a real representation of what it's like to be a Black woman dating in Colorado. Absolutely.
When are we going back to Chicago?
Oh my God, yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. But on a serious note, okay, because I do talk about how reality TV parallel situations in society. That's unfortunate that that's your dating experience. That's unfortunate that that's what we saw played out. However, I appreciate your candidness about saying that, yeah, that is what the experience is like to be a Black woman dating in Colorado. It's a lot of what you saw on screen. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
As everything is wrapped, I know that you mentioned that you talked to KB. I think you said you talked to Kaylin when you guys talked about if you guys maintain contact with Casey. Who else are you close with and still friends with?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously I'm close with every Black woman that was on there because coming out of the pods, man, that's the thing where it got more interesting. I'm getting to know these women and I think everybody's getting along. And then you come out and you realize, oh, maybe not. You know, people are, every once in a while, somebody's throwing a party here, throwing a party there, and conveniently, none of the Black women are invited, but the
Mm,
Black men are. And
mm,
so that's kind of like, what's up with that?
mm,
And so, and when they think that you don't notice, is the part that's like, we notice. I mean, I grew up in this type of environment in
mm-hmm,
grade school. I know when you're doing this.
mm-hmm,
I've grown up in both. I've had a very good balance in my life, growing up around all Caucasian people, growing up around all Black people at one point, and then
mm-hmm.
growing up around a mix of people. I've had the best of balance possible. So I know when I'm in a scenario where things are kind of jacked up. And so there were people that kind of didn't even, you know, they, and you're naturally, you're going to have people who connect better. I don't have a problem with that. Like, there are relationships where people connect better. Like Madison and Kate, they connected and became like besties, and that's totally cool. Like, why not? You find somebody that is like really clicks with you, that's dope.
Right.
And so we find these groups of people who connected together. And I don't have any issues with Kate or Madison.
Mm-hmm.
They're cool people. I don't talk to them on all the time. But every now and then they'll say hello. Like every once in a while, I would say hello to Megan. And but as far as like and Anna, we've just kind of chat every now and then. I've spoken to Asia, I've spoken to Anastasia, but there's others that I don't even talk to. You know, I think we're okay, and then I realize maybe we're not,
Mm.
based
That
off of different things where it's like we're all gonna hang out and we're just not gonna invite the Black women. Cool. All right. So we'll do our own thing then.
that's so gross. So when they were talking at this reunion about this party at Mike's house, this pool party where all this stuff
Mhm.
happened, were you invited to that?
Oh yeah, Mike is dope. Mike is actually, I love Mike. I know a lot of
Okay.
people don't like Mike. I love Mike. Mike
Okay.
has been a very good friend to me. Honestly, like I had a whole dog phobia, and Brendan's dog, he helped me get over well, I'm not completely over. I'm still working at it, but that is the first time in life in all of my years where I actually touched a dog and became like okay with the dog, thanks to Mike, like really helping me with that. And so,
Wow.
and Mike shows up to things. Mike invites us to everything. The guys invite us to everything for the most part.
Mm.
There's like one or two guys that they do stuff they don't invite us to, but they're also friends with those people, so that's why they don't
Hmm.
invite us. So it is what it is. But most of the guys are okay. But yeah, like the guys are not problematic. I feel like they're a lot nicer than, you know, most folks. So
The girls are the Karens. The girls are some real Karens. That's what this is
yeah,
sounding
they're
like.
not
And
all. Like I said, I
not all
Al's
of them.
really sweet. I think she gets a bad rap. Like she's good people. And some, like I said, some of them are actually like really cool people, and they're really
Right.
down to earth. And again, like some people connect better than others. I don't have a problem with that. My issue is when people do things and they purposely leave out folks. Don't purposely leave out Black women. Like we've been left out enough. And here's the thing: we don't want to be invited to your thing. I'm not saying it like, oh, please invite us. I'm saying I know what you're doing,
Hmm.
and you think that I don't, but I do know what you're doing, and you're
Hmm.
making a statement, and I'm glad to know who you are.
And that's the thing that you were saying too. You wouldn't want to be there anyways. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
because you don't
pressed
like me,
to
and
the
I don't want to go
invitation,
somewhere
but
where I'm not wanted.
you're fucked up for that. Like
Right,
that's that
right.
intentional leaving out.
Mhm.
Like I said, I really think, although I'm not in reference to every one of the women, because obviously, as you've mentioned, there are some women who you're still in contact with and that are kind. But for the most part, anybody who's able to attend a party and notice that all of the Black women were not invited and not send a text, not leave, not have a problem with it, or cause an issue for them, that's enough for me to classify them as a Karen. You know what I mean? Like that's enough for me to say,
Yeah,
okay, I don't like you because
yeah, because it's
I
like you
you're not
notice.
my kind of person if you can sit back idly and think that that's okay or want to be around. Hello, the party isn't here yet. What do you mean the five Black women aren't invited? What are you guys doing then? This is lame.
Yeah,
What are we doing? You
yeah.
know?
And like I
Um,
said, I understand that people like who they like, but I
right.
think there's some things that have been intentional, and so I was like, you know, be intentional. But my thing is, I just try to keep my distance from those people at this point.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to be friends with the people because of how they act, and don't say that. You know, oh, well, you act like you don't. I don't. I'm acting like I don't want to be involved with somebody that doesn't want to be involved with me. That's how I'm acting. and that
Absolutely.
should be understandable. If you rock with me, I rock with you. If you don't, I don't rock with you.
Reciprocate the
Because in
energy.
my
You don't.
mind, I don't have an issue with anybody, and I never
Mm-hmm.
have. I try to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that I literally made sure that I tried to connect with people. Where
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yes.
something that wasn't even had to be a thought in your mind, because you don't have to think about those type of things. I do, and I made it
Mm-hmm.
to connect with people as much as I could.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I really, I can't express enough how it makes me feel that you trusted me with sharing your experience and sharing your story and knowing that you have the space to share it. I want to give you the floor to make any final statements, a message that you would like to pass along, anything that you feel like we missed that you wish we got to see.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm very grateful that I got an opportunity to be a part of something like this. I got an opportunity to try to find someone for the future. So I know, Love is Blind gets a bad rap for different things, but I will say I appreciate the fact that they gave me the opportunity to try to find love. And I think that my heart was open to it, and it was really real for me to go there and try. And so I appreciate that opportunity. Like I said, they can't always determine how someone is going to act or how someone's going to put their best foot forward or not. People get to make those choices on their own. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity. I'm glad I got to meet some of the people that I met. Like, we've become close friends, some of us, and it's a family. Despite even the people that I may not love and like like that,
Mm-hmm.
we all did go through this experience together. And I think there's something to be said about that, because we definitely have this crazy moment where we all did this crazy thing that one time. So, yeah.
Definitely a little bit of a trauma bond for sure with everybody who went through that experience. Are
For
you
sure.
single now? Are you dating? What's your love
Man,
life like?
I still in Colorado, so I'm still single as a piece of crap. And the thing about it is, I would say that I'm dating, but I'm totally not.
Okay, that's
No,
fair.
I'm not. Honestly, and here's the sad part. I'm not a spring chicken. Like, that my age is out there now, so unfortunately people know I'll be 40 next. So there's not
37 is young. Do not
yeah.
feel it's still 37
Well,
is
no,
young.
I'm not 37. I'm 39 now. So
Well, so 39 is the young as well. I
yeah.
think that 40 is the new 30. I really do think
Okay.
that. And I think
I'm
a lot of
hopeful. I
people
like
have
that.
been saying that. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people have been saying that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there'll be a place again where I'm interested in dating and all those things, but right now I'm just kind of focused on work. I'm focused on some of the business ventures that I have going on. I'm focused on those type of things, and just like being close and connected to family and friends, and enjoying life, because there's so much chaos going on. And so I have love around me through family and friends, and so I kind of lean on that, and that has been where I'm at right now. So.
Thank you for sharing that. And listen, the right person will come your way. Nothing can keep the right people apart from each other. So when it's time, the right person will come along. And who knows, they may come along sooner because they see you on this show or they hear of you and they just like, that's my kind of woman. I want to get to know her.
No, I said I appreciate your encouragement. I really do.
Like I said, I truly think 40 is the new 30. And I think that like the older I've gotten, the less eager I am to like commit to someone who's
Hmm.
not just exactly perfect for my life.
Right.
And I think there's something to, especially in the times we're in as women, being super intentional with who we like get married to or would
Yeah.
tie ourselves to legally. Like it's got to be a very special person, and if it takes a long time to cultivate that type of person, then I think it's worth it. I always
Oh yeah,
will.
I fully agree. I feel like it really does matter. Like, my parents are actually marriage counselors.
Oh my
They do.
God.
They're marriage. My parents are marriage counselors. They do family counseling, individual counseling, and marriage and premarital. So I grew up in that. They've been counselors for over 30 years. They've been married for almost 50 years. They're coming close to
Wow.
that. So and my grandparents were married 60 years before my grandparents passed away. So I look forward to that type of thing, honestly. So I know it's possible, but because of how I've been raised, I know the importance of it. You don't just want any old thing. and you want somebody who is right for you, and you want to be able to experience like real love. So
I want to sign off by addressing the elephant in the room. Your makeup looks beautiful. Do you do freelance for makeup artistry? Do you take clients? And if so, where can people find you if they want to book you?
yeah. So I do. I still take clients. Because I work a full-time job as well, I try not to like go too crazy, but I do
Yes.
take clients because it's something I love. For me, makeup is not about like the crazy glam of it all. It's really about making women feel beautiful. That's what got me into it, because at one point in my life that was not something that I truly grasped from the outside. I knew who I was from the inside, but the outside was a different story. So making women feel beautiful inside and out is really important for me. So yes, I still do makeup. You can contact me if you go on my Instagram page. You'll see it says my email, the Everyday Beauty LLC at Gmail. You can contact me there, or you can always DM me via Instagram at my Instagram name is crazy, but it's at the Black Superwoman.
Don't say that.
But
I love your Instagram handle. That was
yeah.
the other thing that made me love you.
Yeah, it's at underscore the Black Superwoman. You can go there and click on my bio, and then you'll see the email where you can contact me if you want to get your makeup done. I do makeup lessons, I do classes, and I also do makeup. So I do all that.
Oh my God, this is amazing. What is your holy grail makeup line? Just to end with something fun.
Lancome, by far best
Ooh.
makeup. Yeah, especially when it comes to like that base, hands down, Lancome.
I just wrote that in my notes. I will be getting it. Thank you
Yeah,
very
put it in the
much.
notes, girl. Put it in the notes because it's A1. Like you cannot go wrong.
Okay, I think that we talked about absolutely everything. Do you feel like there's anything that we missed?
Yeah, well, the only thing I would say you missed about me is that, so while I appreciate what you do, because I know what you do is not easy doing a podcast, okay? Because that is like takes a whole lot of work for that, and I know that because I actually used to do podcasts. But I was podcasting back when it was not like visual, which made it a lot easier for me. I'll say that.
I missed
And I was in
that.
radio. I was doing radio, so I still am doing podcasting, and I hate to promote it around the time of the show because I've been working on getting back into podcasting for a long time. So my podcast is actually coming back out, and that'll be out soon. It's called Not Another Podcast. Crazy name, but it's called the Nap for short, because we're not sleeping on all things that are important to the culture. So that's coming out soon, so people can look forward to that too.
I will be plugging it in the episode. I will be talking
Yeah,
about it and circling back to this
yeah.
once your podcast is out. Go show China some love. I so
Thank you.
appreciate your time, your vulnerability, and thank you so much for chatting with me.
And can I just say, I appreciate you so much. I took snippets and started watching your shows. I'm like, she's really dope. She cares about the things that most people are not thinking about. And so, honestly, thank you for being you and the podcast that you have, because honestly, your page brings the light to things that we don't get to know a whole lot about. And so, people like you really matter. You may not even realize how much you matter, but you matter a whole lot. So, thank you for allowing me to come on here and tell my story, but thank you for being you, and please keep doing what you're doing because it's dope.
Thank you so much for saying that. All I want is for my podcast to be a light to shed on conversations that need to be amplified and highlighted. And they're conversations that have been being had. So thank you for saying
It
that.
shows.